If talking to a camera feels awkward or intimidating to you, that's actually a good thing. That means that you're normal. You see, when I first started to talk to a camera, it wasn't particularly normal at all. I remember putting my camera in front of a ton of books, or on a ton of boxes rather, and I started talking to a camera. Or at least that's what I thought I was going to do, but instead I didn't do anything. I was petrified and I couldn't get out a single word. And I've told this story many times, but it really is like that at the beginning. So if you're struggling with this, I'm going to explain to you exactly how to get over the fear of actually talking to a camera, but really getting comfortable rather than just talking like a robot. So let's get into it. The first thing is I would tell you to be yourself. So it's very easy to say to be yourself, but remember a conversation that you had with somebody that you know very well, right? Whether that was a friend or a family member or anybody that you know very well. And you had a conversation, like a real conversation. Remember that last time you had that, or even if it was years ago, but remember a good conversation you had. And since I started actually doing this and pretended like I was talking to an actual friend, it really changed my way of talking to a camera because you see so many YouTube videos where people are trying to, or maybe you're trying to be like somebody rather. So you'll see a YouTube video of somebody, a creator that you would admire, and they speak really loudly, but like that's their normal state. They speak like that. Or another person will be really calm and posed and something. Another person will be super goofy. So you'll try to be like those people because their videos are very good. It won't come across the same way when you try to do it. So if I try to speak really loudly and be somebody that I'm not, or I'm just somebody that's really calm in a group setting, I'd be somebody that would be the quiet one. Like I usually don't talk that much. So if I were to pretend that I was somebody that likes to talk to a ton of people and be like super loud, it would like you would notice, people would notice on the other side of the camera. So if you're talking to the camera like you would talk to a friend, that's probably like your normal setting. Especially if like it's a good friend or your best friend or whatever it may be, somebody that you know very well and that knows you for who you are. We don't have to put a mask on. Like everybody does that to a certain extent, I think. But if you try to be as authentic as possible, like pretending that you're talking to somebody, then there's a very good chance that your presence on camera will completely change instead of trying to be like a YouTuber that you admire because they're not you, and if you try to be you, then it comes across very very different, and people actually notice that. But if you don't pretend like you were talking to some friend or having a conversation like you had a couple of weeks back or like I said a few years back, then it's completely changes because you know that you're talking to a camera and that is not normal to most people. So the second point that I want to talk about might be a little controversial because I've actually tried this and some people will completely disagree with me. But that is to use bullet points instead of scripts. You see, I have bullet points on my computer right now, and I I read the bullet points and I develop on what I'm going to say, but I don't know what I'm going to say next. It just comes out because I know the point that I want to make. So a lot of people will tell you to script your videos, and like that works for some people for sure. It doesn't work for me at all because actually I've tried that. And the problem that I have is one, the first point that we went back to is not supernatural. You're just literally reading out a script, or you're reading something, then repeating it. And chances are you're going to write that script like you would write, but not how you would talk. So even though there's some strategies to keep the retention, and that was very true on YouTube a couple of years ago. And I don't feel like it's as relevant now. Yes, you do need some hooks to get people in. You need to have good titles, good thumbnails, and so on. But it doesn't need to be like your video doesn't need to just be a retention target or something where you change frame every 5 seconds and you zoom in, zoom out, and people, including myself, and I think it's becoming more and more normal. People just want to have somebody that's real on camera, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And actually, this video is about that. So I feel like when you're writing script, even though you can give out great information, and some videos I watch I know are scripted, I think most of the time it's a bit challenging to do that. And two, it's a ton of work, and when I try to do that, I don't make a video for like 2 or 3 weeks, because it was very, very difficult for me to make a video that I felt like people would watch, and I had to write the script, and it was very complicated. To write my bullet points, it's a lot easier, just because it's simple. It's I just have to speak and then in front of the camera, just like I would be talking to a friend, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So I would advise you to maybe try, but for me, scripting videos just doesn't work. Let me know in the comments if you script or don't script your videos, for those of you who have made some videos already, and for the people that haven't, what do you feel about this? Because I know there's two camps about this, but for me, it's all about just speaking my mind, and I feel like it's way too hard for me to script videos. And for some other people, it's much easier to script the videos. So it just comes in, and I feel like the videos that I scripted, or the I haven't done many, but the video that I did script didn't get a ton of views. So, you know, maybe there's a reason behind that. Now, something that I want to talk about is confidence, because when you're first going to speak on camera, you're not going to be very confident at all. And I know this because I've done it. And my very first videos, like with an S at the end, uh, were I wasn't confident at all. First of all, I didn't know what I was going to say, and that's another point that I want to make is make sure that you know what you're going to say, especially the intro. I actually have my intros are actually scripted. That's the only part of the video that is scripted, because you want to get the people hooked in, and also that just gives you a gateway into talking to whatever you're going to say next. So if you know what you're going to say in your intro, then the rest of the video is just going to flow. And I feel like that's just something that's going to come over time. But even though you might not be confident at first, and you know it will come after a while, but if you pretend that you are, and you speak like with authority, especially if it's a topic where you could be ranting on for hours, it's going to be much easier for you. And you're going to, if you know that you could be talking to someone about that specific subject for hours, it's going to be much easier for you to be confident and speak with confidence, rather than if it's a topic where you don't really care about it, and it's going to be and you don't know much about, then it's going to be much harder to film because you don't know what you're on about. And so speaking with confidence, one, comes with time, but if it's a subject where you're passionate or you know something about, or ideally both, then it's going to change completely the way you speak on camera. So just pretend that you're confident even if you're not, and eventually you'll really be confident for real. So it just comes over time, but just speak like with authority, let's say. Don't like pretend that that's you're excusing yourself of being there. Don't shout into the camera either, but you know, be yourself. It just comes back to that first point that we made. So the next point that I want to make is you need to embrace imperfection. And on this topic, it's going to, maybe you've heard this before actually, but your videos are probably not going to be perfect. Actually, they aren't going to be perfect at all. And that's okay. That's something that everyone tries to improve. So if you embrace perfection, you're going to film a video and you're probably not going to be happy with your first video. Just post it and then you'll post your second video and it will likely be way better because you'll have more confidence, you'll be speaking more like you would be talking to a friend and so on. And after a while you're going to improve little by little, and even like if you watch your first video back, you'll notice that it's terrible after like you've made 10 or 20 or 100 videos or 1,000. And that's a good thing. If you cringe when you're watching your first video, that means you're in the right step, because if you're waiting for the perfect time, the perfect timing, the perfect light, the perfect setup or anything, it's going to, you're never actually going to film, because there's nothing that you, there's never a perfect time to start filming a YouTube video. Even this video, I just decided to find a time because I I couldn't find one, so I said, okay, at this time I'm just going to film, and that's it. So it's late morning. It's actually almost midday, not quite, and I'm filming this video. If you have to go to work, you're going to film after, before, at midday. It doesn't matter, but you need to find a time to film, even if it's your first video and you're not ready because you have kids, you have to make meal. But if you find a time, it's just like going to a gym. Just find a time and stay on it, and you'll know that, like, if you haven't filmed your first video, tomorrow at this time, or today, even better, but tomorrow at this time, you're filming your video, and that's it. And if you do that, then it's going to be much easier to follow up and do some more videos. The next one is something that I struggle with sometimes, and it's have fun in the process, because we all want to get more views, more subscribers, more business. If you have a business that you're trying to run off YouTube, or you have the project of having a business, which is my case, if if you're trying to get to a milestone, so let's say I want to get monetized by the 15th of April of this year. So it's probably not going to happen because it's it's in 1 month and I'm nowhere near that. So that was my initial goal, and it's probably not going to happen. And I realized this, I talked about this a couple of videos, or maybe it was last video, where I said that I saw this one person that said he posted more than 1,000 pieces of content, because he, before it actually, like, his channel actually took off, and he's actually doing very good now. And we tend to have this goal that's super far ahead, and this, I think it's good to have those goals, but if you embrace the process and you give your thoughts on camera and you try to improve every single time, it's going to be much, much easier for you to carry on, because the people who are trying to reach a finish line are going to struggle a lot more than the people who or just trying to cross a finish line, rather than the people who just enjoy it, and so they film because they enjoy it. So even though I think it's good to have the, like, not the end goal, but um some goals along the way, I think it's also good to just enjoy the filming, the editing, and so on. And if you hate editing, a lot of people are not even editing their videos, so don't bother with that. But at least try to be better at speaking in front of the camera. I think that's the most important tip. So if you have that tip, then great. And also, I feel like YouTube can change your life before you get to those big milestones, before you actually start getting a ton of views. YouTube is actually very good at changing your life in some ways that you wouldn't even expect. So for that, I invite you to watch this video because that's exactly what I talk about in that video. So make sure you watch that, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.